Welcome back to CIA Declassified. Today, we're diving through the streets of a Cold War city. You're in a light blue VW Beetle. To any onlooker, you're just a tourist or a low-level bureaucrat. But under your feet, tucked between the chassis and the pavement, is a highly trained operative with a 35mm camera and a taste for hemp seed. This is Project TACANA. The agency had the birds from Project ORAN, but they had a major launch problem. You can't exactly stand in front of the Kremlin and toss a pigeon into the air like you're at a wedding. You need stealth. You need a trap door. The Office of Technical Services, OTS, was tasked with turning a standard car into a mobile bird launcher. The CIA chose the Volkswagen Beetle specifically because it was one of the most common cars in Europe. It didn't attract attention. In the early 1970s, the agency purchased several Beetles and modified the floor plans with an electric solenoid-operated hatch. A quote from the Declassified OTS technical specs: "The release mechanism must operate silently and quickly. The bird is placed in a small padded cradle beneath the passenger seat. Upon activation, the hatch opens, dropping the bird into the airstream beneath the vehicle." End quote. The drop was the most dangerous part. If the car was moving too fast, the turbulence under the car could tumble the pigeon like a rag doll. The CIA had to calculate the exact speed, roughly 15 to 20 miles per hour, where the bird could fall, clear the rear axle, and have enough air to spread its wings. To prevent the KGB from noticing a bird suddenly appearing from under a car, the hatch was designed with a delay relay. The driver would press the button and the hatch would open only when the car passed a specific landmark or a crowd, providing visual cover. A quote from the Field Operative Handbook: "It is essential that the driver does not look in the rearview mirror immediately after release. Maintain a steady speed. The bird is trained to stay low to the ground for the first 50 yards to avoid being silhouetted against the sky." The TACANA Beetle was equipped with a bird box that was temperature controlled. Because the engine of a VW is in the back, the agency had to ensure the bird didn't overheat while waiting for the drop. The agency also tested bicycle launches. They designed a specialized wicker basket for the front of a bike with a spring-loaded lid, allowing an agent to accidentally bump the lid while riding past a target. Project TACANA included a study on acoustic masking, where the sound of the electric hatch was timed to the shifting of the car's gears to hide the mechanical noise from pedestrians. The birds used in TACANA were preconditioned by being kept in dark boxes for hours so that when the hatch opened, the sudden light triggered a natural flight reflex. To recover the film, the bird didn't return to the car. It flew back to a safe loft established in a nearby city or even a different country, where a separate team would retrieve the micro camera. The interior of the TACANA Beetle remained completely stock in appearance. Even if a Soviet policeman searched the car, the bird cradle was hidden behind a false panel in the center tunnel. The CIA developed a cold weather variant of the hatch that used a small heating element to prevent the door from freezing shut in the brutal Moscow winters. The project cost millions of dollars, much of it spent on high-speed photography to study how the pigeon's wings reacted to the exhaust fumes of the Beetles. By 1974, the TACANA system was so refined that an agent could release 3 birds in a single trip across town without ever stopping the car. The agency investigated using the same hatch system for electronic sniffers, dropping small sensors that look like pebbles onto the road to track Soviet tank movements. Declassified logs reveal that the cradle inside the Beetle was lined with specialized velvet and acoustic foam to prevent the pigeon from cooing or scratching, which might have alerted a Soviet officer during a traffic stop. A quote from an internal memo from the Office of Research and Development: "While the Volkswagen provides the perfect visual signature, its thin metal floor requires significant reinforcement to the house solenoid without creating an audible vibration that resonates through the cabin." End quote. The agency actually conducted field tests in Washington, D.C., where they launched birds from modified Beetles while driving past the Soviet embassy to see if the local police or security guards noticed the sudden appearance of a feathered visitor. To ensure the driver was releasing the bird at the exact right moment, the car was equipped with a hidden periscope disguised as a standard rearview mirror, allowing the agent to confirm the coast was clear before hitting the drop switch. When you look at the operational deployment records for this project, the ink gets very thick. The heaviest redactions are in the embassy garage logs. Speculation suggests these bars hide a failed mission where a pigeon refused to drop and got caught in the hatch mechanism, nearly exposing the modified car during a routine inspection. The theory is that the CIA had to dispose of the entire car to prevent the technology from being reverse engineered. Further speculation surrounds the radio homing section. Conspiracy theorists believe the redacted text describes a backup system where the Beetle could call the bird back using a specific high-frequency whistle, and the black bars hide the frequency that can still control the birds today. There is a persistent theory that the redactions hide the two-man protocol. Speculation holds that a second agent sat in the back of the Beetle and actually pushed the birds out through a tube, and the black bars hide the names of the bird pushers who were later arrested. Some speculate the redactions hide the LSD connection. The theory is that the pigeons were given small doses of stimulants to ensure they flew straight and fast, and the bars hide the pharmacological recipes used on the animals. Conspiracy theorists often point to the Berlin incident. The speculation is that this Project Beetle was involved in a car crash at Checkpoint Charlie, and the redacted files hide how the CIA suppressed the news of a dozen camera birds escaping into East Berlin. Finally, there's some speculation that the hatch wasn't for pigeons, but for micro drones that the CIA had in the 70s but didn't want to admit to. The bird story was just a cover for early insect-sized robotics. There is speculation that the secondary payload redactions hide the use of pigeons to drop poison needles onto targets in open-air markets, with the black bars hiding the casualty counts. Some speculate the redactions hide the cat paradox, where the CIA had to figure out how to stop the birds from being eaten by strays once they dropped out of the Beetle. The theory is that the bars hide a lethal cat deterrent sprayed from the car's tailpipe. A persistent theory suggests that the hatch maintenance logs hide a design flaw where the car would occasionally drop the birds while parked in public, and the redactions cover the cleanup crew operations. Some speculate that the black bars hide the VW collaboration. The theory is that the CIA had a secret agreement with Volkswagen to build these trapdoor Beetles directly on the assembly line. Rumors in the intelligence community suggest a redacted section titled Project Flytrap describes a Beetle that could actually re-ingest the bird while moving using a vacuum suction tube, though critics say the G-force would likely kill the asset instantly. There is wild speculation that the redacted files cover a deep cover Beetle that was abandoned in a Soviet military scrapyard, still containing the electrified bird cradle, and the black bars represent the secret CIA mission to destroy the evidence before it was found. Some theorists believe the hatch door redactions actually hide the fact that the CIA was using the Beetles to drop micro cameras that would latch on to passing Soviet limousines, using the pigeons as a cover story for the true high-tech surveillance. Finally, there is a fringe theory that the black bars hide the pigeon pilot program. Speculation that the birds were actually conditioned to peck at a tiny dashboard inside the Beetle to signal to the driver when they were ready for release. Was this project a success? Technically, it was a masterpiece. The engineering of the hatch was flawless. Operationally, it was short-lived. As soon as the digital sensors and more maneuverable satellites came online, the Beetle-to-bird pipeline became obsolete. However, it remains the gold standard for low-tech delivery of high-tech assets. As far as technological and operational breakthroughs go, the Beetle's hatch left a mark on the agency's dirty tricks department. For instance, concealed deployment. The electric floor hatch became a standard blueprint for dropping bugs or tracking devices from moving vehicles. Rapid sequence launching, the ability to release multiple assets without stopping the car, revolutionized drive-by surveillance. Biomechanical logistics. The CIA mastered the art of keeping animals alive and mission-ready inside cramped industrial machinery. And miniature solenoids. The silent high-speed motors developed for the hatch were later used in everything from hidden cameras to briefcase poppers. This project shows that the CIA's greatest weapon isn't a missile, it's a 1970s economy car and a bird with a homing instinct. Thank you for listening. Next, we examine the exploding seashell plot. Fidel Castro was a man of many hobbies, but his love for scuba diving was his most dangerous vulnerability. The CIA's Technical Services Division came up with a plan straight out of a cartoon. Find a giant queen conch shell, paint it iridescent colors to ensure Castro couldn't resist picking it up, and pack it with enough high explosives to sink a barge. We'll look at the marine demolition logs and why the agency eventually realized that the ocean is a very big place to hide a booby-trapped shell. Why did they think a shellfish was a viable assassin? And how did they plan to keep the saltwater from corroding the detonator? Join us for the deadly decor next time. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.